I want to offer us a question today. In the wake of Easter, we've celebrated the resurrection. We've recovered from eating too much sugar, at least some of us have, from overindulging. And it's a Wednesday after Easter. I just want to invite us to think about this. Is it possible for us to experience the resurrecting power of Jesus on a daily basis? Is that a daily thing for us, or is this more of like a special occasion, kind of like you pulling out your pastel colors for Easter? It's not all the time, but just when it's really big things, right? I want us to just consider, is it possible, when you hit the ground on Monday morning and you kind of re-engage in the daily grind, is resurrecting power possible in that day? Is it possible in our kind of monotonous and ordinary days, in our difficult and discouraging days? Is it possible in the midst of remote learning with our kids and pushing your next deadline at work? Is it possible to experience God's resurrecting power on a daily basis? And I want to answer that question with a resounding maybe. Now, you thought I was going to say yes, because that's what pastors, you think we get paid to say like those really hopeful things, but I think it's a solid maybe. I would say it this way. It's 100% possible to experience God's resurrecting power daily, but it's also 100% dependent upon our response to Jesus' invitation. I'm going to take us to Jesus' words in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 9, and he extends this invite, verse 22 to 24. The Son of Man must suffer many terrible things. He will be rejected by the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of religious law. He will be killed, but on the third day he will be raised from the dead. Then he said to the crowd, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross daily, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. Here's what I want to offer, that our experience of God's resurrecting power in our lives on a daily basis is dependent upon our willingness to follow the pattern that Jesus gives us of self-denying, cross-carrying, and Jesus following. He says, if anyone wants to follow after me, the good news is resurrecting power is available to anyone who's willing to follow this pattern. Self-denying, cross-carrying, Jesus following. I know there are ways that you would love to experience God's resurrecting power in your life. We could all list them. And I wish there was some kind of simple prayer formula I could give you, and you just pray this the right way, or here's a Bible verse, you read this, you memorize this, and there you go, you got power. That there is some simple way to do it. But there isn't. Jesus gives us the pattern. If you want to follow me, both in death and resurrection, if you want to experience my power, deny yourself. Take up your cross daily and follow me. And so, in all of the ways that you long to experience God's resurrecting power in your life, what if you focus less on asking God to pour out His power and more on the pattern that Jesus gives us? What would it look like for you to deny yourself, to say no to your own desires in order to say yes to Jesus, to take up your cross, to choose the hard way, the sacrificial way instead of the easy way? What would it look like to lean in and listen to Jesus and follow Him in the best faithful next step He's inviting you to take, knowing that this pattern is what leads to the experience of God's resurrecting power in our lives? Now, what that looks like for you is going to be endlessly diverse. It'll look different today than it did yesterday. It'll look different tomorrow than it does today, because this is daily, right? It's a daily journey that we find ourselves on. And so lean in, figure out what that looks like for you today. And then tomorrow, wake up and do the same thing of self-denying, cross-carrying, Jesus following in that day. I want to offer one idea for you before I wrap up. One of the most significant ways we practice this on a daily basis is simply carving out time to be alone with Jesus. I know so many people that come to me as a pastor and they want me to pray and they want to experience God's power, but they're not spending time with Jesus daily. And it's one of the most basic ways. Deny yourself. Sleep a little bit less. Watch a little less TV. Stop doing something else so that you can make time daily to be alone with Jesus in prayer and scripture and meditation and listening to hear his voice, to receive a fresh word of good news and revelation from him. If you want to experience God's power, there's probably a lot of different ways for you to step into self-denying, cross-carrying, and Jesus following. But one of those ways I want to encourage you in this week, carve out time to be alone with Jesus daily. And then watch and see how God begins to work in your life in new ways. I'm praying for you on your journey, and I'm grateful to be on this journey together with you.